The Lutheran Theological Seminary at Gettysburg Seminary, was a seminary of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, ELCA, in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It was one of 7 ELCA seminaries, one of the 3 seminaries in the Eastern Cluster of Lutheran seminaries, and a member institution of the Washington Theological Consortium. It was founded in 1826 under prominent but controversial theologian and professor Samuel Simon Schmucker, 1799 to 1873, for the recently organized General Synod of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in the United States. The seminary was the oldest continuing Lutheran seminary in the United States until it was merged on July 1, 2017, after 189 years of operation, with the nearby and former rival Lutheran Theological Seminary at Philadelphia to form the United Lutheran Seminary. The new institution continues to use both campuses. The Gettysburg Seminary served the church as a pioneer in theological education, creating among Lutheran seminaries the first faculty position in Christian education in 1926, the first teacher in sociology and psychology in 1942, and the first in stewardship in 1989. Gettysburg continued to add to its trail-breaking in the American scene by granting tenure to a female professor, Bertha Paulson, in 1945, and graduating, in 1965, the first woman to be ordained by an American Lutheran church body, Elizabeth Platts, graduated in 1965 and ordained in 1970. The seminary was also the first Lutheran seminary to admit an African American theological student and seminarian, Daniel Alexander Payne, in 1835, only 9 years after its founding. During the pivotal Battle of Gettysburg in the American Civil War, the seminary, on a ridge northwest of the town, became a focal point of action on the first day of battle, July 1, 1863. The seminary gave its name to the now iconic Seminary Ridge, where the line of battle of the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia was formed for the later actions on the 2nd and 3rd days of the battle. The headquarters of Commanding General Robert E. Lee was established in a stone cottage across the Northwest Cashtown Road. The seminary building served as a lookout on July 1, 1863, the first day of battle. From the cupola, Brig General John Buford, commanding 1st Division, Cavalry Corps, Army of the Potomac, observed the opening of the battle to the west of Seminary Ridge and witnessed the arrival of the I Corps under Major General John Reynolds marching to his relief from the south. By the late afternoon, the Union lines on McPherson's Ridge, west of the seminary, were forced back to Seminary Ridge by Confederate troops of Haight's and Pender's divisions. Before the troops could dig in on Seminary Ridge, a further attack by Pender's division broke the line. The I Corps streamed across Seminary Hill and through the town of Gettysburg, covered by a delaying action on the grounds by the famed Iron Brigade. The Confederate Army of Northern Virginia occupied the seminary grounds and held them until the Army's retreat on July 4, 1863. There was no further infantry combat on the seminary grounds, but it continued to play a prominent role in the battle. The seminary building had begun to be used as a field hospital for soldiers of both armies during the first day, and this continued throughout the engagement and after the battle was over. Artillery was posted on the hill and participated in action against Union artillery on Culp's and Cemetery Hills on July 2nd and 3rd. Confederate soldiers ransacked the house of Seminary President Schmucker, an outspoken abolitionist. Confederate troops also used the seminary building cupola as a lookout, although there is no hard evidence that General Robert E. Lee, whose headquarters were just across the Cashtown Road to the north of the seminary, ever entered the cupola. The seminary contains multiple commemorative markers and monuments along its main drive, called Seminary Ridge, formerly Confederate Avenue. The Park Commission had placed 2 Confederate 3-inch rifles, 2 other Confederate guns, and 2 Union 12-pounders, false Napoleon, along the avenue by 1912. In 1868, some seminary land was purchased for the Gettysburg Springs Railroad, now Springs Avenue, and the faculty expanded to a 4th professor, James W. Richard, in 1889. In 1895, during the battlefield commemorative era, the Gettysburg Park Commission Telfordized the seminary's North-South Avenue, resurfaced in 1927. In 1896, the seminary had 2 academic buildings, for professor dwellings, a hospital, and approximately 38 acres, 15 hectares. The cornerstone of the Church of the Abiding Presence was laid in 1940, and construction was completed in 1942. In about 1960, the seminary purchased the nearby Elsie Singmaster Luers home, and in 1961, the Adams County Historical Society moved from the courthouse basement to Old Dorm, added to the NRHP in 1974. In 2011, the society moved into Wolf House, also owned by the seminary. The 2011 Crossroads campaign planned $1.8 million of fundraising for chapel renovations. In January 2016, the seminary's board announced a merger with the Lutheran Theological Seminary at Philadelphia. While originally planned as a closure of both schools with the formation of a new institution, that plan was canceled over accreditation issues, and a merger of the two schools was completed July 1, 2017, under the name United Lutheran Seminary. Most buildings on the campus are post-war structures, but Schmucker Hall, known as the Old Dorm, dates from 1832. The cupola of the Old Dorm, made famous in the movie Gettysburg, was an observation post for both sides during the battle. Its basement was a place of refuge for the Slens family that rented McPherson's farm just to the west. Schmucker Hall suffered a great deal of damage, including the loss of most of its window glass, many bullet holes, and a crack that extended nearly 2 stories. The Union First Corps established a field hospital in the building on the first day of the battle. For the next 2 months, the building housed almost 700 patients, some 70 of whom died there. Most were transferred to other facilities as soon as their conditions stabilized, but Lieutenant Colonel George F. McFarland of the 151th Pennsylvania Infantry remained until September. He was the longest and last patient at the Old Dorm. The seminary expanded during the 20th century. The Old Dorm is almost lost among the new buildings and mature trees. Lightning struck and destroyed the famous cupola in 1913, but the rest of the building was saved. It was considered for demolition in the 1950s, but an outpouring of support from the community and alumni preserved the structure. Since 1974, has been a National Historic Landmark. It now houses the Interpretive Museum of the Adams County Historical Society. On September 5, 1826, what is now the oldest Lutheran seminary in the Americas held its first classes with 8 students in the small borough of Gettysburg. In 1832, the seminary relocated to Seminary Ridge overlooking Gettysburg, becoming the Lutheran Theological Seminary at Gettysburg. In July 1863, the seminary's premises and environs became the stage for the Battle of Gettysburg. Schmucker Hall, the original seminary building, is today a museum dedicated to the battle that took place there, the role of faith and freedom in 19th century America, and also Civil War medical practices. Schmucker Hall was the largest fixed field hospital at Gettysburg.